on the 11th day of Christmas, 87 gave to me. Before we start, please subscribe, like this video, and jingle the bell. You all know how the heartless algorithm works. Or do we? Maybe it could be a future SCP story? A Christmas tale from the SCP Foundation. Snow, cookies, present. At 11 o'clock in the morning, all hell broke loose at Site 87. The majority of the site had evacuated the night before, but a few had stayed behind, all by choice, in order to study the events. From botany, Dr. Partridge and Christopher Hastings were there to observe the tree's behavior. From occult studies, Dr. Sinclair, reluctantly, Dr. Hendricks, to keep the Krampus in check. And from multi-universal affairs, the Bailey brothers, ready to shove both the Krampus and the tree in the multi-universal transit array if the need arose. Right, Dr. Partridge said. Explain to me how this all works again. The gingerbread cookies will act as sacrifices for the Krampus in place of blood sacrifices, Sinclair explained, and will empower it to fight E2512. The mistletoe acts as a mechanism to contain E2512, in theory, at least. The bottles of Coca-Cola will act as the spiced wine for the banishing ritual for the tree. Magic. Got it. Catherine frowned. He wasn't incorrect, but why bother asking in the first place? Meanwhile, in a parallel universe that actually had facilities to contain a psychotic Christmas tree and had done so before, Tristan Bailey was meeting with his counterpart. Or at least, he thought it was his counterpart. God, that goatee looks ugly, Tristan said to his other self. Yeah, I know, said Tristan too. I'm thinking of shaving it off. Oi, Trevor yelled, having an identical goatee to Tristan too. But it looks good on you, both Tristan and Tristan too said, blatantly lying. Are you jackasses ready to contain this thing? Asked Dr. Hendricks over their earpieces. Or is this going to be 2008 all over again? What happened in 2008? Asked Tom too, pushing up his glasses. Do you have a paleontology department at 87 in this universe? Tom asked, adjusting his hat. Yeah, we don't have one in our universe anymore. Yikes, Trevor too said, fiddling with his own straw hat. Meanwhile, in our universe, the Krampus stepped into Common Area 3, nostrils flaring as it bit the head off of a gingerbread man. The tree simply stood there, taunting him. Well, no response from the tree. Come on, I know that you want to do this. I'm a spirit of a holiday. You're a Christmas tree. Just get it over with already. More silence. Dr. Partridge coughed from behind. See if you can get a sample of its needles. The Krampus turned its head to say something along the lines of, piss off, and got blindsided by a sucker punch from the Christmas tree. The conifer had sprouted evergreen limbs and had leapt forward to strike at the horned beast. It was at this point that Christopher Hastings finally began to question the choices in his life that had led him up to this point. He would have questioned it more, had a blast of energy not come from the tree topper and hit Dr. Partridge in the chest, sending him sprawling. At that point, Chris started running away. The Krampus stayed behind to fight, peppermint-scented blood dripping from the wounds as he was pushed back to the first mistletoe barrier. The tree let out a screech and attempted to muscle through the wall created by the sprigs of berries, and fired a ball of green energy through it, obliterating the barrier. The Krampus dove out of the way in time, and the ball hit the ceiling, causing it to sprout pine needles, which then started to rain down on the Krampus, impaling the creature and pinning it to the ground. He would recover, but not before the Christmas tree tore apart the entire site looking for the one who damaged it. Chris ran all the way down to Multi-U, leaving the doors to the stairwells open on every level so that the tree would search the entire facility until it found him. He just hoped Dr. Sinclair was right about the tree wanting to get him after it took out Krampus. And as it turned out, she was. He just didn't count on the tree being able to use the elevator. He gawked as the doors to the one on the Multi-U level opened, and a 15-foot-tall tree thing stepped out, the topper glowing bright red and green. "I hate this job." He started running, but he was out of breath from going down about a dozen flights of stairs. Arcs of red and green light went over his head, impacting on the walls and turning into pine needles, holly, myrrh, frankincense. And it occurred to Chris that he should stop identifying the various Christmas-related plants and run for his life. As he ran down the corridor, panting loudly, he drew a sprig of mistletoe from his pocket and held it in front of him like Van Helsing would hold a cross to Dracula. Unfortunately, at the moment, the tree was acting more like Alucard. It simply kept lumbering towards him, and the entrance to the Muda was over 50 yards away. He could run for it, but it was too late. Christopher was knocked to the ground by a blast of green light hitting the hand with mistletoe in it. He yelped in pain as he felt pine needles grow through his hand. The mistletoe sprig was thrown to the ceiling above the tree, where it clung. An entire bush of mistletoe burst from the modular ceiling, toppling the tree to the ground where it flailed about, unable to regain its footing. Christopher Hastings was somewhat aware of this as he blacked out. "Hastings! Hastings!" Christopher was awoken by a slap to the face. Dr. Sinclair stood in front of him, smiling. "Oh, thank God! We thought you were dead." Christopher blinked awake, looking around. The Christmas tree was flailing about on the ground, and as being loaded up onto a small cart by 6 Bailey triplets, with Dr. Hendricks assisting, lining the cart with mistletoe just to make sure. Chris winced as he looked at his arm. It was bloody, covered with pine needles which had burst outwards from under the skin. "Son of a bitch. We're getting you to surgery." Catherine looked up at the mistletoe bush sprouting from the ceiling. Fascinating. The blasts appeared to have transfigured parts of the site into holiday-related plants, including mistletoe. It hoisted itself by its own petard. Christopher blanched as he realized something, standing up slowly. Dr. Partridge got hit. Hell, they ran, or, in Chris's case, hobbled, off to where Dr. Partridge had fallen, only to find an odd, small shrub where his body was. Christopher stepped over to inspect the plant. It's a small tree of the genus Pyrus. "English, please. Dr. Partridge is a pear tree." Catherine wanted to laugh, but all she could do was scream impotently. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and comment, subscribe and jingle the Christmas bell.